my friends. So I'm here in my backyard. I don't have class today, so I decided I'm going to go and take a walk in the woods. I think I'm just going to time-lapse the walk over there, and hopefully you guys find this somewhat interesting. Maybe I'll talk about a few things in the woods, but yeah, I'll see you there. And here we are at the Forest Preserve District of Cook County. Across the street there is the cemetery. I worked in that cemetery for one whole summer. It was an interesting experience. I'll walk up to the river here and show you the river. Flooded now, as you can see. But that's natural. This whole area is technically a floodplain forest. It's one of the last natural floodplains of Illinois. It goes north-south. This river, I think, goes for about 113 miles. Pretty good long river. And there in the distance, I don't know if you could see. Let's see if I can zoom in. That shadow, if you can see it there, is the Sears Tower. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I'll maybe try to highlight it. So that, I think, is kind of interesting that you can see the shadows of the tallest buildings in the city from this little nature refuge that we're about to take a walk in. So a shot at the cemetery. That is a nice cemetery. I enjoyed working there. Fun times. Most of the employees were Mexicans who couldn't speak much English, and they'd always buy us a six-pack of beer. I worked there with a couple friends from high school. That was an interesting time. We probably slacked off more than we worked. The boss would just assign us sections to trim. That's what I was doing, was trimming around the tombstones. And we'd go to our sections and finish them off real quick, and then go and just hang out, hide. When the boss would drive around to make sure we were working, we would jump back and act like we were working the whole time. The whole game was just trying to avoid the boss as long as we could. It's pretty muddy here today because of the river. It's a very nice river. A couple interesting things about this river. Yeah, I don't know how far I'm going to be able to go in today. It's pretty muddy, and I didn't wear boots, stupidly. What is that? That's ice. I like to ride my bike through this woods. But, so a couple interesting things about this river and these woods. First is that in this direction over here, I don't know if you could see, there are some pretty beautiful homes. $750,000 homes. It's river forest over there to the east. And just over the river to the west, you won't be able to see anything there because the river, or the woods, are thicker over there, but just over that way is Maywood, where You know, the majority of the population is black and very low income, and this river and these woods are pretty much all that separates them. Natural boundary separating two completely different worlds. And when I was a kid, I remember my mom being scared about me going in here and exploring these woods because there were always rumors that people would hang out and do bad things. I remember hearing one story about a few friends who went in and explored these woods and ended up hearing a woman screaming. And they ran out, and I guess it came out later that a woman was raped in the woods. And I was in middle school when that happened. I don't remember exactly the details, but bad stuff like that. And there are certain areas where you could tell people come and hang out and drink and probably do drugs. And they've ruined parts of these woods. But all in all, it's still a beautiful nature refuge here. And this is how this whole area would have looked. Did you see that? This is how all of Chicagoland would have looked 150 years ago, 200 years ago. But about the river itself, you know, this river used to be so filthy, disgusting, smelly, full of trash and pollution that nobody even wanted to go near it. And now it's a lot better. That transition took at least 10, 15, 20 years, and it still has a lot of room for improvement. But the reason it was so bad was they used to use this river, you know, manufacturers and industries and whatnot, they used to use this river to just dump their waste and residential waste, you know, used to be dumped into this river. I think we're coming to an impasse here. How will I get around this? This way. But yeah, so a lot of waste was dumped into this river, and unfortunately that made it really stink. And the way that they would manage a lot of the stink was to build dams. There are areas in this river where it's really quite shallow, and so they would build dams to make the water a bit deeper, and the deeper water would cover the smell of that waste. And there were other dams built for other reasons as well, used as fords for the river back when farmers used to need to ford the river and there was no real infrastructure, no bridges were built, so they needed a shallow area to ford the river. That's one reason. I think another reason was essentially to create like recreational areas. To do a little jump there. This is getting intense. So to create recreational areas. And other dams were made for other various reasons. And all in all, I think there were 113, or maybe that's how long the river is in miles, but I'm getting numbers confused. There were a great deal of dams that were built on this river. And I hope I don't get a tick or something walking through all this. And just recently, this is just too swampy for me. Look at that. I'm just gonna dip. That was just a little too swampy for me, so I'm going to another spot. Hopefully the ground is a little higher and I don't have to be going ankle deep in mud. But yeah, so as I was saying, there were a lot of dams built on the river. And at first, you know, they were done to cover up one nasty effect of basically industrialization, industrial life in this area that was being built up, to cover up one effect of that. And that might have been a nice temporary fix, but the long-term result was just another horrible negative effect. And I'm crossing the street. And that was to basically drive all the fish out and to cause the river to become nasty and smelly and gross over time. Nobody wanted to go near it. And there weren't any fish to catch, and it wasn't even a river. It was just an industrial waste stream, basically. And I learned all this from watching this video on YouTube that was put out by a guy who, he's a biologist or an ecologist, one of the two. And he was commissioned by Cook County, that's the government, county government here, to basically study the river and see what could be done to improve the quality of it. And they took out almost all the dams. I think by now, when that video was published, it was like 2015, and they said that there were still a few more dams left to demolish, but by now all the dams, I think, have been demolished. And the quality of the river is so much better. There are fish that have moved back in, and let's see, where can I go? Fish that have moved back in, and the lake, or I keep saying the lake, the river smells a lot better. It's something like I would even now consider canoeing down the river. There are some areas where once you get deeper in, it really does feel like natural prairie land, you know, floodplain forest. It's a nice area. It is beautiful. Let's see what this stone says. Grand Army of Republic Memorial Woods. In honor of the men who wore the blue and served in the Union Army of the Civil War. Yeah, the Civil War was a goddamn shame. Ecological management site. Let's see. Yeah, this is what most of the area used to look like, with like woodlands and woodlands and wetlands spread in between. Ten most unwanted plants. Yeah, speaking of removing trees, almost all of the ash trees in this area have been getting killed by that Asian beetle. Fucking immigrants. So yeah, they sometimes do events, tours through the woods, and there's actually a museum farther down that way that it's the Forest Preserve Museum, I think it's called. And they have animals that are indigenous to this area, and it's in a really nice old mansion. It's a nice place to check out, but I'm not going to go there today because it's a bit too far of a walk. But yeah, let's look at a couple houses. Before we do that, the point of all that was about the river. That industrialization destroys an area, and you destroy an area by trying to think that you can control a river better than nature itself can. The best thing we can do is try to live harmoniously with these things. We can't just act like we have absolute control, that we can mitigate any of our effects, on the environment without serious consequences. So I'm glad that they decided to remove the dams, and I'm glad that the quality of the river has much improved. Nice house. Another really nice one. I like their wooden fence that surrounds this huge lot that they own. Look at that. Beautiful. Like a greenhouse or maybe an indoor pool over there. When I was younger, especially when I was in high school and first going off to college, I would have loved nothing more. I mean, still now, I would love nothing more than to live in a nice neighborhood like this, surrounded by people I could trust, who live in beautiful homes, with a beautiful wife and a big family, and to be sort of rooted there in that community. But to get a life like this today, you almost have to be a part of this corrupt system that is just destroying our people, destroying the countries that we built, and eventually will destroy neighborhoods like this. Neighborhoods like this will not exist for long if we keep going the direction that we are living in today. All neighborhoods will become like Maywood that I was telling you about earlier. And Maywood itself Maywood itself used to be a nice white European neighborhood like this. And we are the type of people that build neighborhoods like this. And I mean, Maywood used to be more working class, a little bit less rich than this area, but it still used to be very nice. And there used to be, you know, there's a number of I think Frank Lloyd Wright homes in Maywood. There's a number of very nice homes in Maywood, and it used to be just as peaceful and crime-free and well-kept as this neighborhood, River Forest, used to be, or it still is. And it's sad because, yeah, this kind of a thing won't be around forever if we continue. And it's really is based on an unsustainable economic system as well. This sort of a thing is like a flash in the pan. But who knows how long it really could have lasted? Who knows how long America or Europe would have continued to be nice and peaceful and prosperous. Who knows how long that could have lasted if it weren't for the elites that rule over us. I don't know. Yeah, you guys like my selfie stick? Got a selfie stick. Ooh. Oh, it's like having a drone. Aerial view. Aerial view of the Pale Man. Look at that, look at that. The sun just ignites my skin. We're back on the main street. Take a different way home. Interesting thing about Forest Park is that there are more dead people than living people in this town. There's like 3 huge cemeteries in this town. 2 of them are Jewish, I think. And this one that I'm in is Lutheran. And I think that they had these cemeteries out here because for some reason back in the day the Chicago city itself, this is just right outside the city limits, Chicago city itself had certain restrictions and regulations when it comes to cemeteries, and I'm not exactly sure what the whole story is, but point is they had to move and have cemeteries out beyond the city limits for some kind of technical bureaucratic reason. And so a bunch of cemeteries sprung up here in Forest Park. So it makes for a lot of wildlife in the area. You see a lot of deer, you see a lot of rabbits, raccoons, sometimes even like coyotes. And the Des Plaines River is just right over there. And I hope this this isn't disrespectful to the dead. It's not what I mean to do. Coming up here to the end of the cemetery, or at least a place where you can exit. And this is what we're coming up to is the prairie path. It's a bike trail that goes all the way from here, I think this is the very beginning, all the way out, I think to like the Mississippi River, or all the way downstate. It's a very long path. I didn't do my homework for this video, but it's a very long path, and let's see, it starts over there by the CTA station. I don't know if you can see that. And then it goes west, as long as you could think of. There's the bridge over the Des Plaines River. And once again, another thing that has been spoiled. This path is like notorious for muggings and all kinds of crime and whatnot, because it goes through some really shitty neighborhoods. So nobody really takes advantage of this nice path we have. It's just the story of this area. They just built these condos here a couple years ago. Before, this whole area used to be sort of like an industrial zone. There were factories and manufacturing areas and warehouses and whatnot. Now it's all $150,000, $200,000 condominiums. Everything changes in America, always changing. You know what hasn't changed? The CTA station. The CTA station's still here. Thank God for that. Buses are still running, look at that. Across the train tracks, the village actually laid down these rocks, and over on this other side a gravel track as people cross from the residential neighborhood over here to the CTA station all the time. So they actually built this gravel track. And here there used to be a nice big apple tree, but it died, so they planted another one. Full circle back to the neighborhood. And we're back home. There's the garden. That was a nice walk. It's the first little like vlog that I've done that doesn't really have a point, but if you guys liked it, let me know, and maybe I'll do more. Show you more areas of Chicago. Thank you for watching.